Good evening and welcome to the Carnegie Town Hall. This meeting of the Sioux Falls City Council will begin in a few moments. The City Council meets on the first, second, and third Tuesday of each month at 7 o'clock p.m. and serves as the city's policy-making and legislative body. Each meeting is governed by Robert's Rules of Order unless those guidelines conflict with city ordinance or charter. City Council meetings offer an opportunity for citizens to speak directly to their elected representatives. Those in attendance are invited to address the Council during the public input segment at the beginning of the agenda. At that time, any issue that is not subject to formal action later in the agenda can be addressed. Testimony that concerns a resolution or an ordinance's second reading is only allowed when those specific agenda items are being addressed by the Council. When addressing the Council, citizens should speak directly into the microphones at the podium and state their names for the record after being recognized by the Chair. To accommodate and respect all viewpoints, citizen comments are limited by ordinance to no more than 5 minutes each. Comments should be respectful and focused on providing new information that will benefit the Council's deliberative process. The Chair reserves the right to limit the number of speakers. City Council meetings are broadcast live on CityLink and online at www.siouxfalls.org. Information regarding the City Council, its committees, meetings, briefings, and members is available by visiting www.siouxfalls.org/council or by calling the Council office at 605-367-8085. Thank you for your interest in Sioux Falls City government.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. It is Tuesday, August 9th. We'll start by introducing you to your City Council.
Council members Erickson. Here. Erpenbach.
Here.
Kiley.
Here.
Neitzert.
Here.
Rolfing.
Here.
Selberg.
Here.
Starr.
Here.
Staley.
Here.
Thank you, Council. Appreciate that. We are led tonight in our invocation by Dr. Eric McCandless from Empire Baptist Temple. Doctor, welcome. Thanks for being here. What we'd ask you to do is to stand for the invocation and then remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. McCandless?
Our Father, we thank you tonight for the privilege to be here. Thank you for your hand on this wonderful council over all these years as they wade through decisions and thoughts and planning. And Lord, we see your hand of guidance providing for us a great city. And for me personally, to be able to raise a family in this area, we thank you that you give that sort of thought and understanding to this council. Lord, tonight is no different. We ask for your guidance. We ask for your wisdom. Lord, we ask for your leadership, that what is decided and thought upon tonight would not only further this city and its greatness, but also would honor you. And Lord, we thank you again for freedom and for the blood of Jesus Christ that was shed that we might have eternal freedom. Thank you for all of that, and we ask it in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Looking for something?
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. Thanks so much for being here tonight. I do have a proclamation that I'd like to read. However, before I read this, would you mind introducing yourself, what you're doing here, as well as your guests? We'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Alicia Kalura with the Sioux Falls Health Department, also working with the City of Sioux Falls Community Health, where we serve over 14,000 patients a year with primary health care, and we're here to celebrate Health Center Week.
Hi, good evening. My name's Jennifer Tingley. I'm the Chief Medical Officer at Falls Community Health.
Hi, my name's Jim Keller. I'm the chairman of the board for the governing board for Sioux Falls Community Health Center.
Hi, Dave Meyer on the Board of Health.
I'm Stephanie Kunkel with the Community Healthcare Association of the Dakotas.
Yep, and I'm Heather Goff, the finance manager at the Community Healthcare.
Heather, thank you. Thanks for being here tonight. We appreciate it. The proclamation reads, whereas for over 50 years, community health centers have provided high-quality, affordable health care in our nation's underserved communities, demonstrating that locally governed health care can improve lives while lowering costs. Whereas 1 in every 14 people living in the United States depends on the services of community health center. Whereas health centers are located in medically underserved areas and locally controlled by patient majority boards, making each health center responsive to the needs of the community it serves. Whereas health centers across the country save the entire health system approximately $24 billion annually by coordinating care, managing chronic conditions, and keeping patients out of costlier healthcare settings, which reduces the unnecessary, avoidable, and wasteful use of health resources. Whereas Falls Community Health provides comprehensive services such as medical, dental, and behavioral health services to more than 13,000 residents per year right here in the Sioux Falls area. Whereas National Health Center Week offers the opportunity to recognize Falls Community Health, their dedicated staff, and board members, and to celebrate the legacy of America's health centers and their vital role in shaping the future of America's healthcare system. Now, therefore, I, Mike Huther, Mayor of the City of Sioux Falls, do hereby proclaim August 7th through the 13th, 2016 as National Health Center Week in Sioux Falls, and I encourage residents to learn more about Falls Community Health and celebrate the important partnership between our community health center and the residents that they serve. Let's give them a round of applause, please. Thank you. Thanks so much, Shirley. Great to have you here tonight. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Council will now move to our consent agenda. Anything that you'd like to discuss tonight?
Move approval, Rolfing.
There's been a motion to approve our consent agenda and has been seconded. Yes? Sure.
Your mic's not on yet, I don't think.
Oh, there we go. Yes, I'd like to remove, to pull the item from the consent agenda on entertainment venues, the digital projector and screen for $39,000.
Very good. Councilor Staley, we'll talk about that later. Any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Council members Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach? Kiley?
Yes.
Neitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 8-0. Our regular agenda, Council.
Move to approve, Erickson.
Second, Kiley.
It's been a motion to approve our regular agenda. It has been seconded. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
Neitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Thank you. Folks, welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. Certainly glad to have you here. And if you're watching at home, thank you for joining us at home as well. This is an opportunity for you to engage the council on really any topic that is of interest to you. If it's a topic that comes up later on the agenda, we'd ask you to wait for that. But any other topic, just come forward. Two things, just tell us your name, please, and keep your comments to 5 minutes or less, and the council would appreciate that. Mr. Colby, welcome.
Robert Colby here. I had the opportunity, as many people here in the city of Sioux Falls took advantage of, to hear our junior senator give commentary on what's going on in Washington, D.C. I would report that he's looking good. He's eating well from what we could see, and he looks well rested because he's working in Washington, D.C. He did, however, tell us a lot about what's wrong with the things going on in Washington and what needs to be done and how it should be done and why it should be done, but he didn't give us a list of things that would be, I would like to have seen or heard, the 10 things that I commit to work on to try to change what's happening there. And as with all, and I'd include myself, all elected or former elected officials, he did not say, what do you want me to do? Most people say, this is what I will do, and well, we'll leave it at that. But thinking about what's going on, we think about all of the people who are part of our community, larger, the national. We all have things in common. One of the things that it makes me think about how we can make a judgment on what a person's internal being is like is who or what would you commit to give your life for? Most of us, Republican, Democrat, whatever, would say you'd lay your life down for your family. You might say you'd lay your life down for your country. You might even go and say, I would lay down my life for my theology. There are other people who may say something that they would do, they lay their life down for a certain amount of money, but, trying to pursue that kind of money. And there's a lot of people who, unfortunately, seem to be willing to, in this day and age, lay down their life for their political party. I mean, we can extend it and say, would you lay your life down for, if you're a Republican, Donald Trump, or would you lay your life down for Hillary Clinton? You'd have to make those answers on your own. The part that bothers me most is that we have too many people who hold their political party as their theology and willing to lay their life down for that, at least the way they seem to act. And if this country is going to fall apart, it's not because of our democracy or the way we do other things, but that we are so committed to our politics that we are not willing to try to work with someone else. We're willing to die for our political beliefs. Not the Constitution, but our politics. And it's the politics that are going to run us amok. And I hope that we all would think about this a little bit. What are you, each of you, willing to commit your life to? What are you willing to work toward? And what would you say to your constituents? What can I do for you? And what are your top 10 items that you would wish to pursue and try to make changes to make not only our national scene better or our state, but even here in Sioux Falls? What would you do to make Sioux Falls a more vibrant community than it already is? Thank you very much. And don't forget to go to the Sioux Empire Fair.
Scobie, thank you. Welcome.
There we go. All right. As you can tell, I'm David Zokaitis. I'm the guy on the overhead projector there. And last week, a woman named Robin came in to say hi and present some concerns. Well, my topic today is like a follow-up to some concerns I have on her concerns, and they relate. And then I'm going to use that as a jumping off point to talk about a long-term project I have going. I'm going to try to write a book about civil rights and politics. That'd be about my 10th professional publication. I've got 5 or 10 publications in various technical journals. Oh, let's try this. All right, now, Robin, who was here last week, I hope I spelled her name right, but she raised a number of issues. She went to, I think it was the Premier Center, and noticed that there was a search that happened at the door. All right, and then she had a problem with rude police officers who weren't very keen on the law. And she filed a complaint, and of course the official response is, hey, we didn't do anything wrong. And I'm trying to understand what's going on in the world, here and elsewhere. So I'm trying to figure out what the underlying cause is to this. And her experience was similar in many contexts to the rather painful experience I had last fall when 4 cops wanted to not be very nice to me. All right, so going on in this country, we have a lot of searches here, there, and everywhere. I tend to think that's not a real good idea. If you read the Bill of Rights, it says, we've got protections against unreasonable searches, and every search is supposed to be accompanied with probable cause and sworn testimony. Don't happen, folks. All over our country, we see this right to privacy violated. So you can make a phone call and the NSA is there. You can try to go to an airport and you get searched electronically, and then some guy feels up your legs just to make sure you're searched again. Go to a concert, you get a search, and go to a courthouse. Again, there's another search without either probable cause or testimony. Well, I think this is all quite a problem, and but most people are too cynical and too complacent and not getting up there and trying to change the world. All right, if you look at the long-term history of this, going over years or decades, you can see an erosion of civil rights. People don't start off being this invasive on a spur of the moment. They just kind of add a little here, a little there, and it's not a really good idea. As the community, we are losing our civil rights and political rights for the illusion of security. Benjamin Franklin talked about this a long time ago, and he noted that people who trade freedom for security have neither. Now, if you dig a little deeper, we're not losing our freedom for security. We are losing our political rights so that we can lose our economic rights. That's really the underlying motivation for some of this nastiness that goes on in the world. And if you look at the level of income inequality over the decades, you see it's going up. Not good. All right, so trying to take a big picture, much bigger than Sioux Falls, trying to take a big picture of what's going on, and I see a lot of nastiness now. The average person is distracted from political events with things like a news media that reports to corporations. And there's always all these wars going on all over the place, some of which we create. There's this climate of fear. ISIS is the latest enemy, and before that, who knows what it was. It comes so quick. But the whole point is so that everybody's distracted from what's going on and all the bad laws that promote tax cuts for the rich. And really the underlying goal of all of this nastiness is making money for people that already have more money than they already need. Anyway, that's 15 seconds. I better wrap it up. We'll skip this one entirely. Robin noticed that police don't break laws. I see that too. And we need to change things. And that's about how maybe we can do it. The book I'm working on is hopefully titled Reclaiming Our American Democracy. Yes, Mr. Mayor.
David, thank you.
5 minutes.
Bruce Danielson, Sioux Falls. First, I'd like to apologize ahead of time for my voice. I lost it this weekend speaking with hundreds of voters in Sioux Falls who are thankfully starting to speak in my place with their signatures and their neighbors' signatures. Time and time again this weekend, I have heard praise for the 5 council majority that sought to get the facts on this administration building project. I repeatedly heard the message of Greg Neitzert's words last meeting resonated in what they had to say. We have the ordinance we put together in our petition was to stop an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, to prohibit the issuance of sales tax revenue bonds for an administrative building at or near 231 North Dakota. In doing this, you can do the next one. We started the Stop the Funding petition drive. On each petition, there are 20 lines on each petition. The original printing of the original printing was of 700 petitions or 14,000 signing lines. 70 packs of 10 were distributed throughout the town. As of last night, a total of 1,050 petition sheets have been printed because I went to the office last night and the last package of 10 was all I had left to work with to go to the state or county fair. So I printed some more. Right now we have just about 21,000 signing lines in circulation or have been circulated. The city clerk of Sioux Falls has suggested we collect a minimum of 5,750 signers required to meet the 5% of the 114,000 total Sioux Falls voters. There's a state law requires that. Our goal is to have at least 6,500 signers. 1,000 voters attended our drive-in, sign a petition, and drive out event this past weekend. I've never seen anything like it before. I wish all of you could have come down and seen it. It was just an amazing event. Over 100 of these attendees took at least one petition to their neighborhoods. I'm here to announce tonight we're currently at our minimum halfway point, or 3,000 signatures in a 1 week of collection. I have not collected any of the petitions that are out. People are trying to get as many signatures as possible. The voters of Sioux Falls want a vote before this building is built. The voters of Sioux Falls are very upset with the way the work of this and the past Sioux Falls City Council has been ignored by the administration. The voters we've talked with are very upset with the veto. I can't repeat what's been said. It's horrific. I mean, these people are mad. In my years of petition gathering, and I've been doing this for 44 years now, I've never witnessed a community so disappointed in their leadership. The voters of Sioux Falls are expressing a nonpartisan outrage as we collect these signings. When we put this together, we hit a cross-section of every political stripe we could find to make sure they got out to our event. And it's just amazing. Economic groups are all over the board, from the poorest to the wealthiest in town. Nobody wants this building. If the voters are ignored in this matter, it would be a hard sell to convince them of anything this administration or this council ever wants to do for a long time to come. We intend to have our signatures in just a few more days. I'm asking that the citizens of Sioux Falls start bringing it in their petitions, calling me at my phone number, 376-8087, and we can arrange to get the petitions into you. What this administration, council, and the clerk's office does with them will not be forgotten by the voters. Thank you.
Folks, did anybody else want to engage the council on any topic tonight? Sir, welcome.
Hello, my name is Jed Carpenter.
Jed?
I'm a homeowner up at Norton Acres. Bought it in 2012, December. And I grew up in Sioux Falls my whole life. I thought if you want to be a redneck Sanford and Son race car driver, that's where you lived. And I race cars. I bought the house. It's bought and paid for from a settlement. And I got a neighbor that's pretty nasty. He calls the city, and I know the mayor knows about this. I've talked to you at the Nickelback concert, and we weren't be able to get back together and stuff about a $2,000 fine for my yard. But anyways, this neighbor, an ex's relative, my house is bought and paid for, and I buried myself, and I didn't realize it. I bought a bunch of materials. I'm a carpenter by trade, journeyman union carpenter. And I got a settlement. I didn't want to waste it like I've seen other people do. Bought a truck, bought a skid loader, bought a house, $66,000, paid my mom off first. And I realized that now I bit off more than I could chew, you know? And I was looking for good deals. That's all I did for a couple of years, is just went around and bought building materials and stuff. Menards, they love me. Restore loves me and stuff like that, you know. And the more you buy, the cheaper it is. And I was all going to incorporate it in my house. And ain't never owned a home before. Grew up on 1100 North Main. And got in quite a bit of trouble when I was younger. Used to drink a lot. City police can tell you that they know me from the past. And I got this, the city come, and they did give me fair warning many times to clean up my yard. And I had it all cleaned up, I believe. I had my building materials. They wanted me to get rid of them. And I didn't know where to put them. It acted like a dictatorship. I think it would have been better if I would have got some suggestions, some alternatives, something else instead of what happened. And what eventually happened was they took me to circuit court, felony court for my yard. And it was all just building materials. It was all on pallets, and I had the skid loader and stuff, and it did look like crap. You know, once I look back at it, it did. But they charged me, they come with the date. They took my parts car to my race car. They took 3 side dump loads of building materials. They took my garbage, they took everything. They took my garbage cans, and 5 minutes before they were done, I said, "Hey man, thanks for not wrecking my fire pit." I get my skid loader to try to save some more stuff. I didn't know it was going to go down like that, but they showed up with tow trucks and side dumps, 2 payloaders, a skid loader. If they would have had a skid loader with a bucket and a grappling hook, if they would have had a skid loader with forks, I could have done it in a couple hours with mine. And I did bury myself, but the result was I ended up going to circuit court. They gave me $2,240 fine, and they said I couldn't go to jail for civil matter, but that's not the case. I got that paid. If I didn't pay that, I'd have to go to jail. So I got that paid, and I owe back taxes. I got that settlement, and I lived off that money for a while. I got a championship racing all by myself, no one pitting for me or nothing, one-man show. Proud of that. But being a homeowner in Sioux Falls is, man, it's rough. Then I get this bill for $5,567.68 for the cleanup cost. And it's all because one neighbor's calling. I was sitting out, and numerous times the police were there, and they know me. They come in, a few deep, and I don't drink. I'm glad for that, and so are they. Just like, for instance, this last Friday night, I lost a piece for my skid loader I was fixing. I was looking around for half an hour. I decided to screw it. I'm going to sit and have some strawberry milk and build a fire. And sure enough, fire department comes, police come. And
Chad,
yes.
First of all, thanks for your comments tonight. At the city council meetings, we allow 5 minutes for your public testimony, and I apologize, you're beyond that. But we thank you for coming here tonight. Thank you, sir.
What else do I do?
Well, I think that you've got plenty of contacts within the city to engage in regards to this topic. But this is not the place where you would get it resolved anyway, sir. But thank you for your comments. The council was very tentative.
Tell me where to go?
Yes, thank you. Paul, thank you.
Oh, there's Paul.
Mayor, I'm familiar with Jed Carpenter, and actually he has an agenda item tonight, and I think he's trying to address that a little early. He's on the assessment role in terms of trying to, the city is seeking to assess over $5,000 in cleanup costs against his property, and so I think that, you know, Mr. Carpenter is speaking in the open section, but there's on the assessment role is where his issue is that he has, and he's asking the city council to forgive his assessment.
Okay, very good. Chad, there's a topic that'll come up later on. I think the council got a preview of what you want to talk about. So when that item comes up on the agenda, if there's some additional topics or comments you'd like to make, if you're brief, we'll allow it, okay?
Okay, thank
Very
you,
good.
sir.
Chad,
Okay,
thank you. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council on a topic that's not on the agenda later on? Thank you. Folks, we'll now move on to item 21.
Pardon me, Mr. Mayor. There was the item
Oh, yes,
that
very good.
Councilor
Councilor
Staley
Staley had an item she wanted to address from the consent agenda involving entertainment venues. Councilor Staley?
Yes, and I just had a constituent who had asked some questions about clarification on that. Is there someone here who would like to address that?
Councilor Staley, I'm confused by your comments. Do you have a comment on this topic?
I have some questions on this topic.
Okay, and who did you want to?
I think we're going to have someone from the pavilion come forth.
Okay, sure.
And so my question is, how many projectors?
Sir, if you could just introduce yourself and tell us why you're here today.
Vice President of Operations for the Washington Pavilion Management, Inc., sir.
Okay.
And, okay, John, I was wondering how many projectors and screens do we currently have for the pavilion right now?
Currently, I believe there is 6 at the pavilion, ma'am.
Okay, and then what would be the value of those 6?
I'm sorry, I was not prepared for that question.
Okay, but you did indicate they're going to be sold? They're going to be put at auction?
My understanding is you brought a question up earlier and we answered it, and that the projectors that are currently were bid on the bid contract with the city, we are replacing 2 projectors by the projectors that were being purchased, correct?
So it's just two projectors being sold, 2 projectors being bought?
They are replacements under the entertainment tax, correct?
And what specific purpose are they going to be used for?
Presentations in the Somervold, in the Belbus Theater, in the Schulte Room. Yeah, they're client presentations.
Okay, I just had a concern because $40,000 is a lot of money. So if we have projectors that are already functional for that, I would just be concerned that we're buying new things when it's not needed.
John, the comment that Councilor Staley's making is that we're getting rid of some older ones and replacing them with newer ones. Were the old ones not as functional anymore? What was the rationale for buying the new ones? Could you help Councilor Staley understand that?
Yes, please. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The new ones are being purchased because the old ones are dim. They're not as bright, and when clients come to the pavilion, they expect newer equipment that is able to provide them with the services they're looking for. This is the same process the pavilion has gone through on the capital improvement plan for numerous years. They're city assets, and every 3 to 5 years, depending on the asset, they're turned over in a new piece of asset.
the pavilion felt that the two that are being replaced are not functional anymore, not to the point where your clientele would meet their needs.
Correct.
Councilor Staley?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Move to approve, Erpenbach.
Councilor Brock's made a motion to approve this item, second by Councilor Rolfing. If there's no further discussion, I'll roll call vote, please.
Council members Erickson,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Kylie,
Yes.
Nitzert,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Selberg,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Staley.
Yes.
Council, thank you. That is passed 8-0. Item 21.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances for Chapter 39, Personnel Regulations and Benefits, Retirement and Pensions.
Mayor, City Council, Bill O'Toole, Human Resources Office. Thank you for this opportunity to review the personnel ordinances for this second reading. I don't have any other way than to run through these kind of point by point, give you a brief explanation, but I do think I can get through it fairly succinctly in a little bit of time, and be happy to answer your questions as we move through these provisions so the council understands exactly the proposals that are in front of you. The first provision is in our definition section of the ordinances, and we're merely clarifying the definition for an appointive officer. Sorry. Thank you. To include that an appointive officer also includes medical appointed staff and mayor appointed staff that are not required to be subject to advice and consent of the City Council. In 39.005, this is merely a clarification with respect to the workers' compensation coverage for City Council to recognize that the workers' compensation function is now in the Human Resources Office as opposed to the Central Services Department. 39.035 is merely the deletion of some outdated language that's no longer pertinent. In 39.038, this is a political activity provision where, upon advice of the City Attorney's Office, they're recommending the repeal of this language in light of some constitutional concerns, and I think that legal advice has previously been provided by the City Attorney to you. 39.047 is an update to reflect some changes that occurred at the state law level in the last legislative session, specifically that veterans, if they're otherwise qualified for the position, shall be given preference in the hiring process. And we wanted to have our ordinances mirror state law so we didn't have to continually make changes. In 39.048, there again, just another update, deleting outdated language in reference to temporary term and seasonal recreation employees. In 39.059, these are our just cause provisions, and we're really not changing the substantive nature of this provision. I would say that it's just being reconstructed for better clarity. The next provision is in 39.060. Oh, sorry. Yeah, 060 right up above. Just a clarification in subsection B. And then the next two provisions are probably a little more substantive in nature, and they really kind of go hand in hand. We've been working on this for some time now. The first provision is in 39.069. It's the applications for uniform police and fire positions, and we're recommending that we establish a minimum and maximum entry age for our police and firefighters. Currently, the age 21 entry has been in place for quite some time, but through the advice and consultation through the City Attorney's Office, the respective chiefs and their departments, we believe it is good public policy to also include a maximum entry age for those respective positions as well, recognizing I think we can all appreciate the rigors that go with those public safety occupations. So we're adding kind of a ceiling, if you will, on the entry age for applications at no greater than 44 years of age. In 39.070, I think this council is familiar that in the city's current retirement system, we have mandatory retirement for our police officers and firefighters. When we made the changes a few years ago to go to the South Dakota retirement system, we did not have those same provisions. We believe it is good policy to have mandatory retirement for police and firefighters. Again, those are very specific occupations. The Federal Age Discrimination and Employment Act allows state and local jurisdictions specific exclusions from the age discrimination, and it is allowable to put those provisions in place. And as I've stated in the past, these mandatory retirement provisions at age 60 are somewhat unique in that we looked at 5 years worth of retirement data, and neither the police officers or firefighters are retiring anywhere near that age. They're retiring at age about 54, 53 in that area. So again, we believe the consistency with respect to our policy as it relates to mandatory retirement is important, and we would urge your support of that provision. The next provision is in 39-121, and there again, this is just the deletion of really some outdated and antiquated language that is no longer necessary. The next provision in 123 deals with reassignment and salary changes. And again, without getting into the deep of the weeds on this, this is just an opportunity for us to provide some clarification and consistency with how we're managing the reassignment for our employees when we're engaged in a management reorganization or a job audit. So again, just some consistency. In 39-158, the jury duty and witness fees. Again, I'm not going to go through the specific language, but the way it's currently handled today is that the employees advise us of their jury earnings. We deduct it from their paycheck. We think there's a simpler, more efficient process, and that is to not be in the business of the deduction. They just simply turn over the check. In 39-165, the Family Medical Leave Act, looks like a lot of changes here, but really we're trying to simplify this and simply state that the city is going to follow and administer the provisions of the FMLA. Next provision is in the vacation leave accrual in 39-180, subsection D, simply allowing additional flexibility upon the newly hired mid-management or appointed officers, adding appointed officers to the ability to be flexible at that hiring point with respect to vacation. And the last provision, again, is just a mere clarification with respect to the use of vacation in 39-182 to clarify that it's the department director or designee that shall designate that vacation use. And with that, that concludes the presentation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions as it relates to any of those amendments.
Bill, thank you. Folks, this is the second reading, so you have the opportunity to engage the council on this topic if you're interested. Anybody interested? Councilors?
Move to approve, Erpenbach.
Second, Rolfing.
Councilor Erpenbach's made a motion to approve this item, second by Council Chair Rolfing. Councilor Erickson.
Mr. Mayor, I think there was a citizen that did want to speak on
Oh, there
it
is.
that
Oh.
just got up slowly. If maybe we could
Okay.
have some leniency to allow him to speak. I don't know
Sure.
the rules on that, but
Kermit Stagger, Sioux Falls. I think I did get up a little slowly. I hope that's not an indication of something else, but anyway, it's good to be with you this evening. And there was one issue that I did have with this proposed ordinance change, and that was in regard to the city employees, in essence, being allowed to contribute money to political campaigns. For many years now, in Sioux Falls, we've had a prohibition on them being able to engage. And a lot of the reason for that is because the concern that there might be extra pressure placed upon city employees to contribute to a campaign if they want to have a promotion or they want to have this or that benefit for themselves. And if you didn't contribute, you're not going to get a promotion or something that you feel you're entitled to. So I guess I've always been concerned about putting that kind of influence and pressure on employees. The Supreme Court also feels the same way too. In a case, the Supreme Court has held the government's interest in preventing quid pro quo corruption or its appearance is sufficiently important to justify the regulation of campaign contributions. So on the national level, focusing on the Hatch Act, they continue this prohibition that federal employees are not allowed to contribute to these campaigns for national office. But there's also another argument that the Supreme Court has used, and that is to protect the merits of employment based on administration. In other words, we want to make sure we have the best person in office instead of having a person who might have contributed a few $1,000s to get that office. So for those two reasons, to help protect the city employees and also to make sure that we always have merit-based employment selection, I would hope maybe you would delete that part of the proposed changes in the ordinance. Anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Councilor, thank you.
If I may, I'd like to speak to this to this topic also. A lot of people have stressful jobs. I mean, they come home, they're tired, they're worn out every day. Nurses, doctors, but for some odd reason, governments recommend that police and firefighters get to retire earlier than other professions. And I just don't think that's fair, because I want to quit, retire, but I don't get to. I don't think police and firefighters should either. They could get reassigned and re-educated and get them to do something else. A lot of jobs out there.
Folks, anybody else want to engage the council on this topic? Very good. We do have a motion to approve this item. It has been seconded. Counselor Staley?
I would like to make a motion to amend Section 4 by not repealing Section 39.038, political activity.
I'll second that.
It's been a motion made to amend this, and it has been seconded. Counselor Neitzer?
I'm sorry.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Counselor Ruffin.
May I ask our attorney to give us some insight on that?
Yes. Are we talking about the political activity?
Right.
Yes. In reference to that, and the input that I would have, and Mr. O'Toole may have more to add to it as well, is I know that Chief Justice Roberts of the U.S. Supreme Court, excuse me. Sorry, I had that off. Paul Bankford, Assistant City Attorney. Yes, the comment that I would have in reference to the political activity and why that is being proposed to be repealed is Chief Justice Roberts of the U.S. Supreme Court has indicated that other than quid pro quo, which was discussed in terms of, if I give you money, you give me this, courts are going to be skeptical to bans on public support for campaigns. The U.S. Supreme Court has determined that money and contributions are speech, and by banning such, you are banning employees from the freedom of speech and the freedom to speak through their checkbooks and through their support. And so that is one of the reasons why that was brought up to be repealed. The state does not prohibit it. The federal government does not prohibit contributions to candidates, and maybe Mr. O'Toole has more to add to it than that.
Bill, anything to add?
No, I think this does come down to an issue with respect to the legality of the situation as opposed to the merits of the provision itself. I would just address one comment before that. Obviously, the city operates a civil service system when it does its hiring of its employees that are based on merit, efficiency, those kinds of things that are also rooted in our city charter. But the primary issue at hand with this particular provision is one of a legal basis that's been described for you.
Councilor Erickson?
I just have a question for the assistant city attorney. How does county handle it? Is this the practice throughout the state with all governmental entities from counties to cities? How do other states do it? I mean, I understand the concern and I appreciate the amendment. I just don't want to put us in a binding situation that's bad.
Sure, and it's the appearance that's the concern, and certainly understand that. But when the U.S. Supreme Court has considered it, they've indicated that other than if you can show quid pro quo, if you can show I'll give you $1,000 if you give me this position, that's clearly wrong. But other than that, they've indicated they're going to be skeptical on any other bans on paying money because it is a form of free speech. And so if you preclude 12 to 1,300 city employees from voicing their opinion on city elections through either their checkbook or their comments, you are, in essence, the Supreme Court has determined, whether you agree with that or not, but the U.S. Supreme Court has determined you are affecting the ability of those 12 or 1,300 people to their freedom of speech, through their checkbook, through their support. Obviously, there's civil service protection in the city of Sioux Falls also, that, you know, if somebody felt like, you know, if somebody was coming after them because they supported another candidate, there is a forum to address that. But whether you think it's right or wrong, the U.S. Supreme Court has determined that this is speech, and that's the reason for the repeal, and that's what the state and federal government do. They don't ban contributions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Staley?
Well, okay. That being said, look, I get to express why I wanted to do this. And I have concerns about removing this protective policy. I have since it came up in June. Then it got overshadowed by the transgender issue that was also included in that. But I believe this policy has been in place since the 1950s. Is that it's been around for a while? Okay. And I think it sets a protective boundary for the staff, for our city employees. Having been on the giving and receiving side of political campaigns, I know the pressure that can come when you're asked to give some money. And right now, we are the staff over, or we're the bosses, so to speak, over the staff in our city council office. So can you imagine how that's going to be? Hopefully this wouldn't happen, but we're running, and I send a letter out to the staff saying, you know, I'd like you to contribute to my campaign, and then they'll, of course, have to say no. I've had to say no to people before. It's very difficult. And so I just think this was a great policy that we had in place. I don't know that it's been challenged legally. I'm not an attorney. I think it'd be kind of a wonderful thing for us to maybe put this off and look at it a little more deeply, because there seems to be some gray areas here. But I just think this is a protective policy that helps our city staff so they're not pressured by anybody to give money and then to feel like there's going to be a backlash if they don't. So it protects them, it takes it out of their hands, and I'm going to be voting to keep it in place.
Councilor, thank you. Councilor Neisert?
I just wanted to make sure I said that I looked at this over the weekend. I tried to read all these court cases, played amateur attorney, and it didn't go well. As I learned, kind of as the assistant city attorney was talking, there's this balance between city employees, government employees do not leave their free speech rights at the door, but you also have to protect against government corruption. Now, from my reading, our current mechanism is way overbroad. This total bar doesn't seem like it's narrowly tailored in the legal sense that they talk about. But I think there's a value in having some regulation, so I don't like the idea that we're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I wish it was a lot narrower and maybe we could nuance some language. So because I don't really want to throw out the whole thing, I'm going to vote for this amendment, but I think the answer is actually in the middle. It's not this, and it's not what we have now.
Good job, Council. A roll call vote on the amendment. Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Erickson?
No.
Erpenbach?
No.
Kiley?
No.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Rolfing?
No.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
The mayor votes yes. Now we've got an amended main motion. Further discussion. Councilor.
City Attorney or Assistant City Attorney Bangford, what kind of liability, what kind of situation does this leave us in if we put this into law tonight or 20 days from now? If someone wants to express their view and make a contribution to a political campaign and are not able to, are we not opening ourselves up to legalities?
Yes, I think the city is opening itself up to some exposure because of the restrictive nature as it currently is, and whether we're infringing on free speech of the employees of the city of Sioux Falls.
Okay. Councilor Staley?
Well, and let me also, talking about free speech, I've had a discussion with I'm an elected official. I've had a discussion with our city attorney telling me that I cannot pass petitions because it could come back and look like I am going to be exerting some authority over our city clerk as he is validating the signatures. So I'm told I can't participate. You know, I'm a big petition person. I like to do that, get my hands in there, and I have this latest thing, I've kept my hands off of it because I was told, don't do this, don't put the employees in any kind of a bad position. So to me, this whole thing is kind of going in the same direction as saying, this is something we're doing because we respect our employees, and that's it for me.
Councilor Selberg.
A question for the city attorney.
Sure.
Has this been challenged to this point?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
For the city of Sioux Falls, I mean, in other places they've had you know, ordinances that have been challenged, but I'm not aware of a challenge to the city of Sioux Falls.
Well, can I comment further?
Sure.
Where I would tend to agree here is, I mean, I think it provides a safety parameter for employees not to be put in a lot of uncomfortable situations. And I mean, not just the blatant do this or we won't do that, but just, let's say in a certain situation, I ask somebody in the city for a contribution on a election and they say no, and then I see when I'm reading the public record they gave to somebody else, and I think it opens up a can of worms of a lot of uncomfortable situations where I think if it was a pressing issue and there's a big uproar from employees at some point, maybe we can revisit it, but for right now I would have to think that many city employees like it the way it is.
Councilor Kiley.
Quick question for Director O'Toole. We passed this evening in its amended form. It's possible to revisit it down the road at a different point.
Absolutely,
if
and
necessary.
I think there is. I mean, getting to Councilor Neitzert's point that you can maybe find that middle ground, if you will, in this situation. And again, I think the basis for the discussion of repealing is again rooted in that legal foundation, not whether or not we believe in it or not for it, or the fact we haven't had an issue yet. But the constitutionality exists nonetheless. But I think you're absolutely right, Councilor.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Starr.
I'm ready to move on from that part, if that's okay.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that.
My question maybe is for Chief Burns more than anything. I've got a question about 39.069 with the minimum age for police and fire, if you don't mind. And I looked that way first before I saw Chief Sedaris back there too, so you get to take the question probably. Are we missing applicants because we're not looking at 19 and 20-year-olds maybe in this process? I mean, I'm sure that's been discussed, but I guess my concern is that we possibly lose maybe some good applicants to the county or possibly the prison or other law enforcement that are willing to look at people who are in, you know, maybe have 2 years of community college and, you know, get to that 20 point and are looking for a job, and maybe we're losing some good people in that category.
Yes, and thank you for the question. Actually, it's always possible, but candidly, the age 21, more often than not, you have the requisite maturity to be successful in the job. We've had folks come in, through my experience, right about at age 21, and they more often than not are more successful if they have just a little bit more life experience, a little bit more maturity. So I think that's a very, very good middle ground. Yeah, that's true.
What was the item?
Bill, what did you say?
It is a fair and a valid point that law enforcement standard and training also requires the minimum age 21.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Council, good job. A roll call vote, please, on the amended motion.
Council members Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
No.
Kiley?
Yes.
Neitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
No.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
That is passed 6-2. Thank you, Council. Item number 22.
A resolution approving the special assessment role for repair or demolition of real property in various areas in the city of Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Good evening, Council. Matt Tobias, Code Enforcement Manager, Planning and Building Services, but also tonight I'm representing the Code Enforcement Management Team. Before you tonight, there are 5 resolutions, I should say. There's 5 different resolutions dealing with a variety of topics. basic topics that go back to minimum standards we have set forth in the city. These standards are fairly simple. What I have for you tonight are before and after pictures of some of these different resolutions that are in front of you tonight. The first resolution is a resolution approving the special assessment role for litter removal in various areas of the city of Sioux Falls. A lot of the times what happens when the code enforcement world is we get word of a problem on a property, and then after, through a series of letters, through a series of contacts, we are unfortunately not something we like to do, but it's the unfortunate time where we actually have to go in and provide those services. So we actually have to go in and do the work to clean these properties up.
Matt?
Yes.
Sorry, sir, we're on item number 22.
Yep.
So we're dealing with repair and demolition of real property in various areas in the city.
Yes.
So I don't want you talking about litter. We're on 22.
Okay. What I was going to do is just cover all of them.
No.
You want to just cover separately?
Yep.
Okay, that's totally fine.
Got to do that, sorry.
Sure, no problem. So the very first one is dealing with real property. So when we're faced with those situations with real property, we have a situation where this past year, I think there's one out there where we had to go up and board a house. We actually had to go in, we got word of it. We got word of a problem at a house with some windows that were open. So then we had to hire a contractor to go in and perform that work. So the contractor went out and boarded the windows up. And now that's the only thing we have for this year on that specific resolution. It's just for the fact that we had to hire a contractor. So when we hire the contractor, we have to get paid for those services.
Matt, thank you.
Yep.
Folks, is there anybody in the audience who want to speak to this particular item? This is on that particular boarding up the property. Council?
Move to approve, Erpenbach.
Second, Rolfing.
Councilor Buck's made a motion to approve item 22, seconded by Councilor Chair Rolfing. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erickson,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Kiley,
Yes.
Nitzert,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Selberg,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Staley.
Yes.
Council, that is passed 8-0. Item 23, Matt. Thank you.
A resolution approving the special assessment role for litter removal in various areas in the city of Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Matt, thank you.
All righty. Okay, sorry about that.
It's all right.
The next resolution we have before you is a situation where we have to go in and we actually have to remove litter from a property. A lot of the times this comes from, a neighborhood, a neighbor or whatnot. So we'll actually go out, we'll verify, we'll have some member from our team will go out and verify that there's a violation that exists on the property. Like I said before, through a series of letters that are issued, through notice violations, we weren't successful in getting the property owner to clean the property. Therefore, we had to in this case, we had to rely on city staff. We have city landfill staff, we had public works staff that actually had to go out and perform these duties, remove all this material from this property. So here's a good example, and I have one more picture here. Here's a kind of a before, these are before and after pictures where we had to go in and actually perform those services.
Matt, thank you. Folks, is there anybody in the audience who wanted to speak to this item? Mr. Carpenter, I had earlier told you that you'd have the opportunity to engage the council. Here's my predicament. I do my best to be fair to all the citizens, but I do have to interpret the rules or the policies that are given to me by the council. And you're given a 5-minute limit. And, sir, I've tried to be consistent with everybody throughout my years. You were at 5:20. So unless the council has a question of you, or if Mr. Bankford has a question of you, I apologize, but you've already passed your time, but hang tight, okay? I want you to hang tight. And is there anybody else who wanted to speak to this item? Mr. Zakaitis, just hang tight, Chad. You can sit, please. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
I'm trying to look at the big picture like I normally do. And it looks like maybe Chad's yard was a mess. I don't really know. It kind of seems like it might have been. And the city tried to get some work, tried to get him to clean it up that he maybe didn't accomplish. But by his perspective, he had money in materials and money in a car sitting in his backyard. And then the city goes and hauls all that stuff out, and not only does he lose his money, but he gets to pay for the removal of what was to him money. So from that perspective, it just seems remarkably unfair. And if you're going to charge him for removing what was to him money, you should pay him for the stuff that he had there. I mean, it's more than just removing junk, it's removing material assets.
Thank you, David.
Money.
Thank you. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council on this particular topic before I go to them? Very good. Counselors? Counselor Neisert?
I do want to ask about number 2, and I may want to talk to the citizen. When they have a $5,000 bill, they probably should get a good amount of time to talk. Can you give me a bit of an idea what the cost breakdown was? Where the $5,000 is that the one you're referring to that had to do with having to hire a private contractor?
This specific case was a lot of city time. And if I'm not mistaken, we have Dustin Hanson from the landfills here, but it was city time, city staff, city resources that were involved in this particular cleanup.
A lot of city time?
Matt, do you have a breakout in this particular case? It's what Counselor Neisert asked.
Yeah, this specific case, I believe there were, I think there were 6 different side dumps that were used in this particular property cleanup.
Did it all go to the landfill then?
That, I believe, all did actually go to the landfill.
Okay.
Counselor Muck?
Matt, the pictures that we have on the screen right now, are those the property in question of this gentleman that's been here this evening?
Yes.
Did staff just end up out there one day, or did he get some kind of notice that this was going to happen?
He had there's a lot. There's a series.
Can you walk me through that? What is that series, and do we know that he knew this was coming?
Yes. The very first time that we went out, we would send a letter saying you have X amount of days, 14 days to clean up the property. And then we went from that letter after the 14 days, then I believe it went, another violation occurred where there was a citation. And then I believe we were back out there probably within another few weeks, and there was another citation. And then we were back out there within another probably a few weeks, there was another citation. And then I know that there was a series of letters that were sent, and then there was a lot of communication between city staff and this particular property owner on when the city was going to come out and perform the work. So there was a long process there that took place before we actually just showed up and performed the work.
Counselor, with your permission, actually Paul has the detail that I think you'll find.
Can you give me a timeline on that,
Yes, thank
Mr.
you.
Bangford?
Thanks, Counselor.
I can. And Paul Bangford, Assistant City Attorney again. Would you prefer that I address from here or go down to the podium? Okay. This is over a 2-year process on Mr. Carpenter. I will try to hit the highlights so that you know the efforts that the city made to get Mr. Carpenter to clean up his property. The city first sent a notice to abate the nuisances or clean up the nuisances on January 16th of 2014. There were lots of issues on Mr. Lewis's yard. They were not cleaned up after that. So in March 3rd of 2014, 2 administrative citations were issued for the failure to clean up. Mr. Carpenter appealed those citations, and he actually caught a break because his administrative appeal hearing had to be held within a certain period of time pursuant to our ordinances. It was set for April 18th of 2014. The witness that we needed was involved in Project Nice and Keep. So Mr. Carpenter came into our office for his hearing. I explained to him that he caught a break that day. We weren't able to come up with any witnesses, so his citations would be dismissed. But I also cautioned him it was not being dismissed because he cleaned up his property. It was being dismissed because of a procedural issue. Told him he needed to keep his property clean or he'd be back. On July 30th of 2014, we received more complaints. Property was re-inspected. A second notice to abate was issued at that time. We normally don't do a second notice to abate, but did in this case because we had to dismiss the first citations because of the unavailability of our witness. He didn't clean it up. August 18th, it was re-inspected, again not cleaned up. August 20th of 2014, our office filed a complaint in magistrate court against this property. Mr. Carpenter was set for an initial appearance on September 10th of 2014. He showed up, pled not guilty, and his trial in magistrate court was set for October 30th of 2014. Mr. Carpenter showed up on October 30th of 2014 and indicated to, at that point, Magistrate Judge Cutler, now Circuit Court Judge Cutler, that he did not understand that that was actually his trial date. So the judge reset it to November 24th of 2014. On November 24th of 2014, the judge had determined that all four counts of the complaint that the city had filed found him guilty, assessed maximum penalties and fines because he had made no effort to clean up. So he was imposed penalties and fines of $2,240, which were due June 30th of 2015. The magistrate court only has permission on nuisance cases to fine. To actually get an order for the city to clean up is required in circuit court. So we were hopeful that Mr. Carpenter would clean up after the judge reached her decision on November 24th of 2014. He did not. And so on February 5th of 2015, we filed in circuit court an injunction complaint telling him that he needed to clean up his property. He filed an answer. There is a period of time before the trial where both sides are allowed to do discovery and various things. But eventually, he was set in front of the Honorable Judge Salter. He was set for a trial in circuit court where the city was seeking permission to require him to clean it up, and in the absence of him doing so, that the city could do it and assess it against the property. We had proceeded for some time in the court trial on that case. Mr. Carpenter decided he did not want to proceed with the trial. He indicated to me at that time that he felt like he was going to lose and just wanted to enter into an agreement. I agreed with him that I thought he was going to lose, so we entered into an agreement. And on August 18th, I'm sorry, I said August 8th, August 18th of 2015, the agreement was, look, Mr. Carpenter, you have one more month to clean up your property to September 18th. If you don't do it, the city has the right to come in, clean up the property, and assess it. Mr. Carpenter assured me once again that he would have everything cleaned up within a month. September 18th rolled around. Mr. Carpenter had not addressed the nuisance issues on his property. So on October 9th of 2015, a letter was hand-delivered to Mr. Carpenter indicating that, look, you've had lots of opportunities to remove all these nuisance conditions on your property. At that point, almost 2 years of opportunities to do so, and that the city would remove the nuisance items on or after October 20th of 2015 and charge that against you as he agreed to in his stipulated agreement, if not done by October 20th. October 20th rolled around, and the health department went out there along with landfill and several city employees. There were 14 side dump truckloads that were removed from the property, which I've been informed is the equivalent of 28 dump truck loads of items that were on his property. There were a couple items, still at that point, the city attempted to help him out because he had a car that was in the yard that was unlicensed and inoperable, which pursuant to the order we could take. City people assisted him by pushing it into the garage so that it wouldn't be taken, because if it was in a garage, it was okay. He also had a racing car on the property that the city staff agreed that his friend could take with him so that he didn't lose his racing car. So that was what happened on October 20th of 2015. But that order is good for 5 years, allowing the city to continue to remove items from his property. After all of those items, the several side dump truckloads, the 14 side dump truckloads that were removed in October of 2015, by December 10th of 2015, Mr. Carpenter had acquired a whole new stash of items on his property. Again, he was given a letter on December 10th of 2015. That time I don't believe he was home, and the letter was posted saying, we were also cognizant of the fact that it was the Christmas season. We didn't want to be out there on Christmas Eve taking items from Mr. Carpenter again. So this time we gave him almost another month, from December 10th to January 6th, indicating if you don't remove these items by January 6th, the city's going to come do it and assess it against the property. City did go out on January 7th of 2016, and another 2 semis, dump trucks, were used to remove the items, and the vehicle that was previously in the garage was now out in the yard, and so it was taken at that time. But for over 2 years, the city did everything it could to try to get Mr. Carpenter to remove the items. We gave him notice over and over and over again. We had 2 judges tell him it was a problem he needed to address, one in magistrate court and one in circuit court. Mr. Carpenter never addressed during those 2 years, and the city spent a significant amount of time and resources on dealing with this property. So yes, a $5,900 bill is quite substantial, but Mr. Carpenter deserved every penny of that.
Council, is there any more discussion on this item?
Could I
Councilor Bach.
just say, Mr. Mayor, as the representative of the Central District, I deal with those neighbors that are sick of having folks next to them who can't take care of their property. We've set a standard as a community to care for our property at a certain level. And this goes above and beyond. This is not acceptable, and the neighbors are sick of that kind of behavior. And I would say that we vote for this and move on, please.
Councilor Staley.
But I also want to say that this man is a human being, and sometimes people get caught in a cascading effect, and things start piling down on them. And I think we have to keep a compassionate heart. And not that we don't have accountability for things that happen. But it doesn't mean that you're not worthwhile and that you aren't deserving to be cared for and respected. And I think there's a wide variety of people in our community who have a whole different set of standards of living. We all don't live in the same little box. And so we've got to be compassionate and caring. And I want to say that Matt does a fabulous job. Thank you, Matt. I mean, he does. I can see that you've got a caring heart. It's a very difficult position to be in. I know that. So you're an asset to the program, in my opinion.
Councilor Neisert.
I second what Teresa said about Matt. He's incredible. I just want to say, since I brought it up and I just asked the question, thank you for the context. When you have the context and you see that, when you see a number that big, you'd just like to have an explanation, and that was incredible, so thank you.
Thanks, Councilor Neisert. Appreciate that. Do we have a motion? I don't even think we do.
No, sir.
Can I get a motion, please?
Move to approve.
Councilor Bach's made a
Second,
motion. Councilor Selberg's made a motion to second that. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Erickson,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Kiley,
Yes.
Nitzert,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Selberg,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Staley.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 24.
A resolution approving the special assessment roll for snow removal in various areas in the city of Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Yes, before you, this is that. It's the resolution approving this assessment roll for snow removal. Same situation we have here. We'll hear from a neighbor. Usually it's, hopefully it's only that one time a year, but we'll get a call from a neighbor saying that they have not followed the rule, which is you have to remove the snow from the sidewalks within 48 hours. And then we'll put a door hanger on their door, letting them know that we verified a complaint, and then we'll have to hire the contractor to come out and perform the work. So in this case, here's the before and after picture taken by our contractor to perform the work.
Matt, thank you. Appreciate it. Folks, anybody want to engage the council on this topic involving snow removal?
Since we're talking about snow removal, I would like
Could you just introduce yourself again to the people of Sioux
David
Falls?
Zokaitis.
Thanks, David.
Okay. Since we're talking about snow removal, I would like to point out to the council that there is a public sidewalk that goes from the corner of Blauvelt and Wayland down over the hill. It's by the Riverside area. And I've used the sidewalk a few times. It's close to a school, Laura B. Anderson, I think. And I talked to the city last winter and was unable to get the snow cleared on this particular sidewalk. I think that's a little bit of a problem, seeing as how it's right next to a school. And these kind of problems continue on that sidewalk because as of today, it's covered with sticks and branches and dirt and stuff. So I'd like somebody from the city to check it out and maybe make an assessment on the nearby properties and have it cleaned up. Now, part of the problem is that this particular sidewalk kind of goes between properties and nobody wants to take ownership of it. The city doesn't want anything to do with it, and the property owners don't want anything to do with it because they don't really use it. So it's a bit of a problem.
David, thank you. Matt has made note of it. Thank you. Thanks, David. Folks, anybody else? Councilors? Yeah, Councilor Bach?
Just a question, Matt. Could you describe for us if a property that's on this roll is a rental unit and it's owned by a landlord that perhaps doesn't know it's not been cleared? Do we have a way to contact those folks?
In a situation like that, what Councilor Erpenbach referred to was we go back to our rental registration list, which is very, very key in this particular case. We require all rental properties to register their rentals. And with that, we have a contact number because a lot of the times we can have property owners who live in Arizona, we can have property owners who live in Texas, or they're gone for the winter or whatnot. So it's hard to notify that particular person who's living there that they need to clear the snow off the sidewalk. So we do rely heavily on the rental registration list for a contact person. And we do our best. We have staff. I have Kelly Boyson's with me in the back. He's our chief property maintenance inspector, and I witnessed firsthand those guys making phone call after phone call after phone call, trying to get a hold of somebody because we try to make contact with someone who's responsible for the property. This isn't. It's not a fun thing to do to have to go through this, but one thing I'll add is that we do 10,000 inspections a year. Of the 5,000 confirmed violations, we have a really good success rate of about 90%. That once we make first contact with a person, whether it be phone call, whether it be a letter, the violation is corrected. So that's one little thing I just wanted to add there. So,
Matt, good job. Thank you. Folks, would anybody want to make a motion on this item?
To approve, Erpenbach.
Second, Rolfing.
Councilor Bach has made that motion, second by Council Chair Rolfing. Councilor Neisert?
I need to make a motion to amend by removing item number 55, looks like tax parcel 59570, 5212 East Fernwood Drive.
I would second that.
Got a motion to amend the list by removing item 55, and it was seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. Councilor Neisert?
We were just notified by the city attorney that this one has been resolved, and they would like to have it removed, therefore.
Thank you very much, Paul.
Yes, that is correct.
Yes is good. Thank you. There's been a motion to amend this by removing item 55 based on the premise that it's already been resolved. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Erickson,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Kiley,
Yes.
Neitzer,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Selberg,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Staley.
Yes.
Council, thank you. That amendment is passed. Any other discussion? A roll call vote, please, on the amended main motion.
Council members Erickson,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Kiley,
Yes.
Neitzer,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Selberg,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Staley.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Thank you, Council. Item 25. Matt?
A resolution approving the special assessment roll for tree trimming in various areas in the city of Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Same thing for this one. We basically have the resolution set before you. We do have a representative from Parks and Rec, Dwayne Stahl's here to answer more questions about this particular resolution before you tonight. So we don't, in code enforcement, we deal specifically with snow, weeds, garbage, but then Dwayne, Parks and Rec does handle the tree part. So I'll have, if there's any questions with that, they can be directed kind of towards Dwayne.
All right, Matt, we're talking about tree trimming now, folks. Do anybody want to talk about tree trimming with the council? Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Peter Thompson. Mayor Huther and council members, thank you for allowing me some time to discuss this. Actually, if I may, would it be possible to call Dwayne to the podium first and have him share with you all what the regulations are for the trees in Sioux Falls, South Dakota?
Peter, why don't you do your topic, and then if there's a question for Dwayne, we'll bring him up. So what are your comments, sir?
Okay, is there a way to project pictures here for the room? Here, start with that one, I guess. I spoke with Dwayne via email and telephone on the 7th of June and the 9th of June. I received a notice to trim my trees, and I don't have the dates. That's why I'd like to ask for some clarification on that. But I received a first notice. The trees hadn't even begun to bud yet. So I went out and trimmed my trees to what I thought was reasonable. Received another notice approximately a month later. Went back out, did quite a bit more tree trimming. Again, thought everything looked fine. The trees had begun to bud. They did not have full foliage, as in this picture here. Middle of May, they came and trimmed my tree property and trimmed all of my trees, evidently. I could see a few small, 1-inch branches and cuts that they made on a few of the trees, very minimal in nature. But in my recollection that it's 12 feet above the curb and either 8 or 10 feet above the sidewalk. Number one, I don't think that I've ever seen a 12-foot high vehicle of any sorts come through my neighborhood. I live on a cul-de-sac in Prairie Hills that I moved in 8 years ago. Many of these trees are less than 8 years old, so not very substantial in nature for what is over the street is very small, and I don't see that it would be an impending damage to if there were a 12-foot vehicle come through. Additionally, I don't think that I've seen any 8 to 10-foot people walking on my sidewalk that I would have a need to cut my trees to the 8 or 10-foot mark on my sidewalks. Actually, I've never seen anybody walk on my sidewalk because it ends at either end of my property. My adjoining property are vacant lots. This particular tree is on the developer's lot that Van Buskirk owns, and it did not get trimmed or looked at or approved on the same days that mine did. If you want to put up that next picture, you can see the trimming that they did in the middle of May. In the background, just pretty much directly above that gentleman's head, the furthest lowest left branch is actually that tree that I took the picture of yesterday. So I don't know if the Van Buskirk got a get out of jail free card in the trimming of Prairie Hill South or what exactly took place, but I did take a picture of another tree. That was on about the 7th or 8th of June when I was having discussions with Dwayne. That's on Hemmingstone, I believe, and again, I'm not sure that that's on it could be a vacant property. It's right on the edge of a vacant property, but again, not a legal tree. So my question to him was, number one, why don't we consider when your forestry service comes through the neighborhoods to mark the trees? I mean, I don't know about you folks, but I don't have a 12-foot pole to measure my trees with, so I really don't know exactly what the true height of the tree is. And like I say, these branches were so small that, I have an immaculate yard in my opinion. Most of my neighbors do also. Other than I can't afford the water bill, so it's starting to look a little rough. But my point was, I asked Dwayne, number one, that I had done my due diligence to go trim my trees, and that I thought we needed to find a different way to mark them. If they came out 3 times, twice to inspect and once to trim. Had numerous discussions with several of my neighbors. Several of my neighbors were also assessed. They paid it, not terribly willingly. I hate to read the comment section of a few of them in their memo on their checks. But I guess my point being is that I believe if you have a team of folks on this forestry service and you're going to come out 3 times to look at my trees, why don't you come out once and tie a yellow ribbon around the old oak tree where I know which one to cut? How are we as homeowners in the city of Sioux Falls supposed to know exactly which trees the forestry division feels needs to be removed? Tape, chalk, string, whatever. I have no way of knowing. I went out twice and worked hard to make my property legal for the city of Sioux Falls, and evidently it wasn't good enough. So I asked that he, I was unwilling to pay the $150 that was assessed, and that's why I'm here tonight.
Mr. Thompson, thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Folks, anybody else want to engage the council in regards to trees? Welcome.
Bruce Danielson. I've been to 2 joint Brandon Sioux Falls City Council meetings that have been extremely fascinating. And one of the topics that has been brought up in this is Project Trim. Greg Jameson brought it up, and there was another discussion that was brought up in the last one that was held in Brandon. And in each one of them, the mayor, the city officials, the council people that have been there, all have talked about how well their program about Operation Trim works. This gentleman's right. The way they do it in Sioux Falls is a joke. They should just go out there. They've got trained arborists. If they don't have trained arborists, just get out there and hire somebody to come in for a few weeks, clean up the trees. In a couple of years, the city is where you want it to be. These trees are city property. They should be taken care of by the city. Now, one of the other things that I've got in my archive of photographs is the truck that goes around and does the measuring. They actually don't even go out with a ruler and measure the trees. They do an estimation off of the side of the truck. And if it looks like it's within an area that's kind of sort of the right way, but maybe not, you still get this letter. And then somewhere along the line, there's another letter that comes out. And this is a bunch of traffic that runs back and forth down to City Hall, and where they write the letter, and then they go out, and then I found out that when the riders are in the truck and they're doing the documentation, they're using some kind of a spreadsheet or a tablet or something, and they're just kind of marking down. And in one of the photographs that I have is that truck sitting in front of a house in a nicer area of town that has no trees. And they kept getting letters saying that they needed to trim their trees. Well, the ice storm took their trees. They have no trees. So there's a whole big problem with this entire system. And one of the other things we heard about this weekend is Operation Trim. And you guys, you people up here on the council, need to do something to just get rid of this crummy program, turn it over to the arborists of the City of Sioux Falls to trim their own trees and just be done with it. Thank you.
Sir, welcome.
Hello, Council. I'm Mark Swanstrom. These gentlemen have both expressed my feelings greatly in this situation. I was notified the first time early in the spring. I received an item in the mail that said you need to keep your trees trimmed. I thought this was a blanket article that came to my home the same as everyone else in Sioux Falls. I didn't necessarily think it was pointed at me. The next time that I received an item, it was a yellow tag hanging on my door, and it said that your trees need to be trimmed. You gave me a month. I trimmed them the next week, cut all the branches down, disposed of them properly. You could clearly see that you trimmed my trees. I actually measured them with my tape measure. You're supposed to have 10 foot over the sidewalk and 12 foot over the street, and I measured them. A couple weeks went by. The wind blows in Sioux Falls a lot. I'm certain that some branches reshape and go down and continue to grow. This is earlier in the spring when trees are growing fast. We had a lot of rain. I got several text messages from all of my neighbors a couple weeks later who would attest to the fact that I would be the one that would tell them that they need to trim their trees. And they told me that, and sent me pictures of the city cutting down the branches off of my trees, which I thought were going to be of sufficient height. And they also lopsided 2 of my trees to the point where it looked terrible, to say the least. And that is why I'm here, to rebuke the fact that I got a $150 bill from them for trimming my trees that I had already given my full effort to trim. And I have the same sentiments as these other gentlemen. If you took a walk around a 5-block area in my neighborhood, you would have multiple times where you'd have to duck to go underneath a tree. And you've never had to duck to go under a tree at my home.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council on this topic? Councilors? Councilor Neisert?
Could I have the citizen just repeat his name for me?
Was it Mark Swanson?
And were you Peter Thompson? Is that correct? Peter Thompson. Okay. Mark, it was Mark.
Mark Swanson, is that right?
Yes.
What's it? You're Swanstra. Thank you. Thanks, Mark.
Okay, thank you. And do you live in Lincoln or Minnehaha?
I actually live in Lincoln County down by 85th and Louise on Rosecrest Drive.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Staley?
I wanted to talk about this, about Project Trim, and I want to start out by saying that a little prelude to say that to me this is kind of a spiritual issue. And I am so appreciative within our city council that we have a prayer before we start our meetings. And I'm also very appreciative that I think throughout our community on the weekends during our services, people pray for us city officials. We do it in my church. We pray for elected officials that we would have guidance and integrity and wisdom. And this weekend, I ran across a scripture that I thought really hits the heart of this matter. It's from Luke 12, verse 48. Much will be required of the person entrusted with much, and still more will be demanded of the person entrusted with more. Now, how does that fit into Project Trim? We have been greatly blessed in our city. We have had great prosperity. We've been able to build a lot of wonderful things. We have our event center. We have the pavilion. We have the new aquatic center. We may have a new administration building, $25 million put into that. Many of these things are using operational dollars from our tax money to support them. They're all great. Citizens also deserve to have some operational money put towards their services. We pay property taxes, we pay sales tax, and I think some of our services are starting to disappear for the average citizen. I have had Project Trim hit my neighborhood 2 times. And I have to tell you, I mean, long before I was on the council here, I've felt from my discussions with my neighbors, with this community, with my own self, it's a program that is despised, it's repressive, it's intimidating, and it's very costly. We're asking people to take up the slack from what I think our city should be doing. We got the people's addresses here this last week of the people on the rolls, and I did some home visits of some of these people and asked them how they felt about Project Trim. One of them happened to be one of my elderly neighbors who lost her husband a few years ago. I stopped by there last night, and you know, their hands start to shake when they're talking about this program. Okay, these are people with limited resources, and when you get a letter from the city saying you better pay up, or you know, we could have a lien against your house, bring legal action against you, they become afraid. And she had a diseased tree, and we used to cut down trees in the boulevard and take care of it, but it was cut down, and she was given a bill for it. When Project Trim hit my neighborhood, I called up and I asked about how do I know which tree it is? And I was told, be careful when you go in the street so that you don't get hit by a car. Put a ruler, get a yardstick and go out and measure it. That's what I was told. And my neighbor, elderly neighbor at the time, she has since died, she called one of the arborists listed on the sheet and had them come out and do it. And the Project Trim people come back and tell her it's not good enough. And she said, take that D thing down, and they cut it down. And so I think that we can do better than this for our citizens. I'm going to be voting no on this whole package tonight because I think we need to step up and use our resources, take some of that operational money, give Dwayne Stahl more people if he needs it, give Don Kearney more resources, and let's start taking care of our trees and giving people the services they deserve.
I do have to comment as well. Several years ago, I was a victim of this program, and I use that word advisedly. I got a letter saying that I was in violation. I called, and they told me, you'll have to go out and measure it and figure it out yourself. And so I went and I measured, and I tried cutting, and you're just guessing. And I just saw the letter a few weeks back, and it says, the survey did not identify which tree or how many trees or shrubs need trimming. So you're told you're in violation, but you're not even told where the violation is or how many violations you have. I want you to imagine you get pulled over by the police department. A police officer pulls you over and tells you, you have a violation on your car. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but you need to fix it in 2 weeks, and you need to come to the police station and have your car inspected. This program fails the test of treating people the way that you want to be treated. So for that reason, I'm also going to throw out 3 times, going out to somewhere 3 times to measure trees, put tags on a door, either mark the tree or let's just do it. How much is this program costing? So for that reason, those reasons, I'm going to vote no as well.
Council Chair Rolfing.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, that's okay. I've got to give you a different experience, because I had the same thing happen to me, and it was very obvious which tree it was. They did a good job of explaining what it was and which tree it was. I went out and trimmed it. It's not that hard to go to 12 foot with an extension ladder or an extension saw, that kind of thing. Just get it up, or to 10 feet. You go a little bit farther and you're in good shape. It's pretty easy to judge what that is. So I just wanted to make sure people know that there are times, maybe the majority of the time, when this system does work.
Councilor Erickson.
Thank you. I just wanted to add a little of my personal experience. I did receive a letter. We own several property in Sioux Falls, and I did receive a letter this fall. I will tell you that the city was phenomenal to work with. I think it came to my husband's name or in our business name, but I was a citizen, and they were phenomenal to work with. However, there was clearly frustration. I am not going to get up on this tree and trim it down, and so I had my handyman do it twice, and they had to come out twice, and then a third time to make sure that it was done correctly. And the unfortunate part, I think that we can do better. I think that we can market. I'm not saying that the city should just be out there hacking down and doing, because there's risk in that as well, that it might not cut your tree how you want it to be cut, or it might look lopsided, or whatever it is. But as we're measuring, when we've got that 12-foot pole, let's put some pink spray paint on the end and just spray it. So I don't have to guess which tree is my issue tree. I did spend well over $150 paying for this tree to be trimmed. And like I said, the city was phenomenal to work with. Dwayne was amazing. I thank you for the time that we had. I was on vacation. My repair guy couldn't get there in time. And so it did work. However, he did have to come back several times. And if you're there measuring on the end of the stick, put some spray paint, and we can do better. I mean, we can just make this program better. We should always be looking at ways of being more efficient and serving the citizens, that while you're there, let's take the guessing work out of it and just put a little dot of spray paint on there. A string might blow away, the spray paint might come off, but at least it identifies it. And maybe we'll save some money in the end, that you won't have to come out 2 or 3 times. When that repair guy comes out there, he knows exactly which tree branch to cut. I had all my trees trimmed because I didn't know which one it was, and I didn't want them to have to come back, but we did several times. And so I think that we should look at this program. Like I said, we can do better for the citizens by identifying those tree branches. I think it's quite simple, quite easy modification to make without having to take the whole expense. But if I add up Lincoln County and Minnehaha County, I'm roughly at $15,000. And I'll tell you, the people sitting in this audience make probably over $15,000 for the 45 minutes we've been talking about this. And that could have paid for the whole program itself as well. So we can do better. And I just hope that we work together to do that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Would you want to make a motion, Councilor?
Yes, I'll move to approve.
Thank you.
Second, Urbanbach.
It's been a motion to approve these items, seconded as well. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erickson,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Kiley,
Yes.
Neitzer,
No.
Rolfing,
Yes?
Selberg,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Staley.
No.
That is passed 6-2. Thank you, Council. Item number 26.
A resolution approving the special assessment role for the mowing of weeds and grasses in various areas in the city of Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Hello, before you again, we have a resolution here, the special assessment rule for mowing of weeds and grasses. Just like snow, we get these on a complaint basis. The very first time we get a complaint, and we go out and verify it, a year, we send a letter. If over and over every single year, you're gonna get a letter the very first time. After that, we get a complaint on the property, we're gonna go out and we're just gonna send our mower right away. We've given you a warning the very first time, so after that, we go out and send our mower. This case, this is what we see in some cases. This is kind of a bad one here. Here's the front, and a before and after of the front and a before and after of the backyard. Some of these bills can get high when you see situations like this. If we have 3-foot thistles throughout the entire backyard, it takes our contractor some time to do that. It's not just a very small yard. So you'll see some variation on some of these bills, but this is kind of one of the worst situations we dealt with.
Thank you. Folks, did anybody want to engage the council on weeds and grasses? Councilors?
Move to approve, Erickson.
Second, Rolfing.
Councilor Erickson's made a motion to approve this item, second by Councilor Chair Rolfing. Yes, Councilor Buck?
Matt, would you tell us, why is it that you have these pictures of everything?
These pictures, I wanted to just show you, I wanted to show the council a before and after. We require a contractor to do this. It basically, it'll tell you the date. If you look in the bottom there, it'll show a date and a time. That's really important in our world. And matter of fact, if we do not get pictures from our contractor who performs the work, they don't get paid. It's very, very important that you'll see the date and the time there, so then we can know, we can see the violation before, we can see the violation after, and then we can also know how long they were there.
Good, thank you.
Good question, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Neisert.
I need to make a motion to amend by removing items number 150, 151, 152 at 811 South Blaine Avenue, and item number 210 at 5212 East Fernwood Drive.
Second, Urbanbach.
It's been a motion to remove items 150, 151, 152, and 210, and it has been seconded as well. Councilor Neisert?
Same advice from the city attorney. These have been resolved.
Councilor Neisert, thank you. We have an amendment on the floor. It has been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Council members Erickson?
Yes.
Urbanbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Star?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Thank you. We have an amended main motion. Would anybody want to make a motion on this?
Move for approval.
Or move for approval? Thank you. Or no, do we,
No, sir. Just need the vote, sir.
just need the votes. Very good. Thank you. Anybody, any further discussion? A roll call vote, please.
Council members Erickson?
Yes.
Urbanbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Star?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Thank you. I need to ask, did we have a motion, though?
Yes, sir.
We did on the,
Council members Erickson and Rolfing.
made the initial motion.
And then council members
Thank you.
Neitzer and
Thank you.
Urbanbach.
Perfect. Thank you. That has passed 8-0. Item number 27. Thank you.
A resolution authorizing the City of Sioux Falls to gift 6 IBM Blade servers, 2 IBM Blade server chassis, and 4 IBM Blade server Cisco switch modules to Southeast Technical Institute.
Good evening, Your Honor, council members. I serve on the advisory, my name's Dan Larson. I'm the IT infrastructure manager for the City of Sioux Falls, work under Sioux and Central Services. I also serve on an advisory board for Southeast Technical Institute. They have expressed some needs for some of the equipment that we are looking to otherwise excess and surplus and pay to recycle. We are looking to donate them some equipment that we would otherwise just recycle and surplus. And foundationally, it's great for instruction, but it's obsolete and unsupported in production environments. So we'd just like to donate them to a local organization if possible.
Thanks,
Thank
Dan.
you.
Thank you. Folks, anybody want to engage the council on this topic? Councilors?
Move to approve. Neitzer.
Second, Selberg.
Councilor Neitzert's made that motion, seconded by Councilor Selberg. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Erickson?
Yes.
Urbanbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Star?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Thank you. Item 28, please.
A resolution amending the City of Sioux Falls general conditions for public improvements.
Good evening. Shannon Verhey from the Engineering Division, and I'm here to talk about the general conditions for public improvements and the changes that we've made to them. First, a little background. What are the general conditions? And they're a 63-page document that set forth the responsibilities of the city and the contractor during the construction process. They help control the bidding, award, and closeout procedures. And they apply to our street and utility capital improvement projects. They do not apply to like our building type projects. Those are actually governed by the AIA document. And our last major revision was in 2010, and then 2013 is when we did some minor revisions. The work that we completed to date, we actually started this process in 2014. And what we did is we took our document and compared it against 4 industry documents or industry recognized documents. And those documents were the South Dakota Department of Transportation standard specifications, of which that's actually where our specifications actually, or our general conditions grew from originally. And then we also compared them to 2 national documents, the EJ-CDC documents, and then also the AIA general conditions document, again, 2 nationally recognized documents. And then also we compared them against the Iowa statewide urban design and specification standards, also known as the SUDES standards. Just some additional timeline here. And probably the first one is the most important one to us. We spent several months working with the Sioux Falls Contractors Association, which is kind of an industry group here that's representative of local street and utility contractors. And for them, they're the ones that are going to be most affected by this document, and we really worked with that group of contractors to get their buy-in. And then we also took this in May to the Infrastructure Review and Advisory Board. It was just a informational presentation to them. And then in, I believe it was June, we took these documents to the Land Use Committee, and then they made the recommendation to take them to full council. And I do want to share this comment from Toby Crow. He's the Sioux Falls Contractors Association coordinator, and he's also the executive director for the South Dakota AGC from a statewide perspective, but he's representing the Sioux Falls Contractors Association with this quote. And I'll just read it to you here. The Sioux Falls Contractors Association approved and revised City of Sioux Falls general conditions and instructions to bidders at our February 18, 2016 membership meeting. We greatly appreciate the city's willingness to meet with the Sioux Falls Contractors Association on multiple occasions to discuss these documents. The cooperative nature of these discussions resulted in improved final versions of both documents for the city, its citizens, and the contracting industry. The SFCA extends its sincere gratitude to the city for providing this opportunity to comment. So again, for us, that was key. What I'm going to do now, I'm just going to take you through a real brief highlights of the new sections we added. You know, again, within this 60-plus page document, there was hundreds of changes, you know, whether they be grammatical, typos, or maybe just modifying certain sections. I just want to, again, take you through the high-level new items. The first section that is new, it's the non-responsible bidders, or that we added significantly to. We added language to define what constitutes a non-responsible bidder. And what this does, this helps protect the city from having an unqualified or low-quality contractor performing work for the city. And probably an important thing, too, is when we find a contractor non-responsive, we have to have that in writing. We can't just go on hearsay or whatnot. We have to document that the contractor is not performing well. Sections 4.2, differing site conditions, and sections 5.18, claims for additional compensation, are actually fairly similar. And what 4.2 does is it's a new section that if either the contractor or the city finds something that wasn't expected in the documents, we have a responsibility to notify each other in writing. And then that kind of leads to section 518, you know, if there are changes to the contract where the contractor is entitled to more money, they have to document that to us, and they have to submit a breakdown. They can't just make stuff up per se on what the cost is. They have to show what their labor was, what the equipment costs were, and whatnot. So those two go together. Section 8.1 on no assignment of contract. Again, this is a new section. Contractor can't sell, transfer, assign, or otherwise dispose of the contract or any portion thereof without the city's written permission. What that's essentially saying, if I'm the low bidder and I get the contract, I can't say I'm selling it to my buddy or to another contractor and they have to take over the legal responsibility. Our contract's with that contractor and they need to see the project through. We also updated our table for liquidated damages, and this is the table that we use when the contractor doesn't complete a project on time. Based on the contract value, we will deduct a certain amount from every day that they're late on the contract. So for instance, if it's a $75,000 contract, row 2 there, we would deduct $450 a day for every day late they are from their contract. Section 8.17, termination for convenience. Basically, this is a new section outlining the termination of the contract for the city's convenience and without cause. The contractor would be compensated for any work completed up to the date of the termination. This is an item, it did generate a little discussion in the Land Use Committee, and one of the things I'd like to point out is this, the termination for convenience is actually in the two nationally recognized documents, the EJCDC document, as well as the AIA General Conditions document. So again, kind of doing that peer review of industry documents, we felt this was a good language for the city to have in our contract language. Sections 9.6 and 9.7, progress payments and decisions to withhold payments. You know, those can be summed up. If the contractor is not doing their job, we can hold payment. It's not that we're not going to pay them, but we're going to pause the payment until they actually comply with the contract requirements. Final payment, similar thing here. Basically, to sum this up, we want to make sure the contractor is paying his bills, and this has given us the right to require lien waivers and stuff like that, so that like a lien waiver is certification from the subcontractors that they've been paid. So again, we're just trying to do our due diligence and also protect the subcontractors and suppliers and whoever else may be affected by a particular project. And then Section 10, Claims and Dispute Procedures and Remedies. This is a new section addressing claims and dispute procedures, and it describes the process to follow in resolving claims and disputes prior to litigation. And really all we're doing here is formalizing or putting in writing how we're doing business now. You know, we try and informally work through it with the contractor. If we have to escalate it, we would go to a voluntary mediation, and then if that fails, then we would resort to litigation. And then Section 11, there was a lot of miscellaneous revisions. Just to kind of sum them up, again, new sections addressing funds appropriation and budget shortfalls, severability provisions, no waivers of future performance, neutrality of contract language, legal notices, and applicable law. And with that, I can entertain any questions, and I also have Josh Peterson and Brad Loons. They are principal construction engineers. They really are kind of the heart and soul of our day-to-day construction program. They handle most of our construction issues on the projects, as well as I have Diane Best from our city attorney's office.
Shannon, thank you. John, Brad, Chad, Diane, thank you as well. Folks, before I go to the council, did anybody want to engage the council on this topic? Councilors. Councilor Urbanbach.
Yeah, Shannon, would you go back to 8.17? I know you discussed this in land use, but would you remind us what that means, the termination for convenience? What would be an example of that?
An example of that would be, so it's kind of legal language, but if we had to, the example we gave in land use is the 12th Street Bridge this year. We bid that in January, and that was about a $7 million project. Let's say we had some natural catastrophe, a flood that happened in the spring, or maybe a large tornado came through early spring before we got construction started, but we were under contract with the contractor. We may choose to say, hey, we need to reallocate some funds here, so let's stop this contract where we're at. Let's just pay the contractor up. They may have had some girders for the project ordered already. We'd say, hey, we're going to pay you for those. We'll store them. We'll get them paid up, and then we can use that money for other purposes.
Thank you. You're right. The word convenience just sounds like we're just going to do it for the fun of it. So I just wanted to make sure that we remembered that. Thank you.
Chad, thank you. Councilors, Councilor Staley?
And I remember when this came up, because I would have a concern that these people have put other projects off because they're going to be committed to helping, to doing a city project. And then, a day before they're supposed to start, we just say, well, we've decided not to have you do it. I mean, is there going to be some parameter for and I was hoping contractors would come forth and tell us if they had an issue, but I haven't heard anything, so maybe everybody's okay with it. Have you heard anything from anyone about this?
Yeah, I guess
locally?
I'd go back to our meetings with the Sioux Falls Contractors Association. We certainly talked about it with them. Again, kind of going back to the industry-wide documents where this language also applies. I don't want to speak for I think maybe I'll have Diane address that also.
As Shannon indicated, we did talk to the Contractors Association. We not only talked to them, we talked to their lawyer as well. And also there was another lawyer from one of the law firms here in Sioux Falls that conducted an independent review and actually recommended this language. It is used, I think, as indicated by Shannon, he indicated a couple different places it's used. It's also used by the federal government. Contractors are subject to this clause. The Contractors Association, the lawyers for the contractors understand that there is a well-settled body of law regarding the interpretation of termination for convenience. And that's why the word convenience is in there. It is a legal term of art regarding these types of clauses. They're all very similar. Termination for convenience does not mean at the whim of the governing body or at the whim of the city engineer. It's a clause, but they all pretty much apply the same. It means you have to pay for work done to date. You can give notice. You can redirect the funds. But importantly, what the courts say is you have to be justified for doing it and you have to act in good faith. If it's used as an opportunity to get around the bid laws or to engage in some bad faith reason, the courts will require the governing the body involved either to pay the amount of the contract or pay for the lost profits, or will require the contract to be performed. Those are remedies that could occur. Probably lost profit. There's all kinds of different arguments and things in court as to what the remedy would be, but the courts universally say has to be justified, have to act in good faith. So there's sort of this super burden of proof on a governing body that goes ahead and uses a termination for convenience. But it's important to have there in case we get into a situation where it's essential to redirect those funds for another project.
Diane, thank you. Council, would anybody make a motion on this item?
Move to approve, Erpenbach.
Second, Starr.
Councilor Ply made a motion to approve this item. Councilor Starr has seconded it. If there's no further discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Council members Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Council, thank you. That is passed 8-0. Councilors, I know that you've had a very, very, yes. Councilor Bach?
Mr. Mayor, just
Yes.
a point of personal privilege,
Please, absolutely.
I just have been here thinking what I was doing on this night 30 years ago. And I just wanted to give a shout out to the guy that said I do.
Oh.
And who is on his way to Dairy Queen right now and meeting me at home. So, but 30 years. Thank you all.
Congratulations.
Councilor Bach, and his name is Stephen, is that right?
Name is Steve.
Name is Steve. Very good. Congratulations.
Clear Councilor Rolfing would have bought you dinner.
Right.
Right? Yeah. You know. Yeah.
Nice job,
But
Councilor.
no, thank you.
I should be mentioned that Connor Hoare from Troop 48, he was in the audience earlier today, so we want to thank Connor for being here as well. Councilors, I know you've been here since 3 o'clock. Citizens Sioux Falls, it's now 6 hours later, and your part-time city council has been busting their tail on your behalf. They started their day with budget hearings to try to find a way to make your tax dollars spent in the most productive, efficient way possible. Council, thank you. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second, Starr.
Thank you. Councilor Box made a motion to adjourn this meeting tonight. Councilor Starr has seconded that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This meeting is adjourned, Sioux Falls. Make it a great night. Thanks for your work, Council.